Welcome friends. In this video we are going to talk about the next very important material property, fatigue. So fatigue is what actually? So it is the failure due to the dynamic loading or the cyclic loading. So fatigue is what? It is the type of failure due to the cyclic or the dynamic or cyclic loading. So please remember, this is the catastrophic failure. So it is actually the fatigue is in catastrophic. That is the sudden damage, the failure which is involving the sudden damage, that is the catastrophic in nature. If you see in the world, around 90% of failures, 90% of failures because of this fatigue or the fatigue failures. Please remember this. What are the examples? We can have the examples like rotating shafts of machines, wings of aircrafts, then we are having the bridges. So they are undergoing which kind of failure? The fatigue failure. So dear students, if it is because of the dynamic loading, so let us see what are the types of loads, isn't it? So after this we will see the types of loads. The types of loads. What are the various types of loads? So number one, we will discuss the completely reversible load. So what kind of load it is? So here we are having the same magnitude of stress, but the direction of these magnitudes are, the stress are different. So if you see this stress, this is the cycle, this is say with the time, and this is the stress, then it will be look like this. So see here, if this is the magnitude of stress in positive side and this is the negative. See, positive means this is the tension and negative this is the compression. This is sigma minimum. So here sigma maximum is equal to sigma minimum. So here see, the magnitude is same, the magnitude of stress is same, whereas the direction is changing. The direction is changing. If you take the example of this, that is, example is what? The rotating shaft without overloads. So such a kind of loads we can call it as the completely reversible loads. That is, one cycle is going for the tension and another cycle is going for the compression with the same magnitude of stress here. Please remember. So this is the completely reversible load. Now from here we can calculate certain things. If I want the range of this stress, if I find out this range, the sigma range, sigma r, that is nothing but the difference between the maximum stress and minimum stress, isn't it? If I go on calculation for the amplitude of this stress, this sigma a, how to calculate that? Sigma a will be this range divided by sigma range divided by 2. What is range? Sigma max minus sigma mean divided by 2, isn't it? Now one more thing I can calculate, the mean stress or the average stress. The mean stress, how to calculate mean stress? Sigma max plus sigma minimum divided by 2. And we can also calculate the stress ratio. The stress ratio we can calculate, which is R is equal to sigma max divided by sigma mean. So these are certain parameters we can able to calculate. So after seeing this completely reversible load, the next load we are having the alternating load. Alternating load. So what is alternating load? So here the magnitude of the stress of course changing in the tension and compression, but this magnitude is not same. Okay, of course there is a change in direction. Suppose if I am having this stress in this tension as for example 200, then it may be around say 100 or 150 in compression. But what is the value of stress here? It should be 200 in the compression also, but it is not like that. So here the magnitude is changing as well as the direction is also changing. These are known as the alternating loads. So if here I can calculate, the range will be this 200 minus 150, that is 50. And what is average? That is 200 plus 150 divided by 2, that is 350 by 2. Whatever, like that you can having these alternating loads. So if you talk about the next load, we are having repeated loads, then we are having repeated loads. So here the direction is not going to change, but the magnitude is changing from maximum stress. From where? 0 to this sigma max. 0 to sigma max. So this kind of stress or load which is there, that is, so variation of the stress from 0 to maximum. It will not change the direction, isn't it? So it is known as the repeated load. For example, if you take very good example, that is if you take the leaf spring of the car. Leaf spring of the car. So it is subjected to see repeated loads. How? There are the conditions. When there is change in the number of passengers, and when there is the change in road conditions. When these vary, you are having repeated load like this. When there is a change in number of passengers and there is a change in the road condition, the leaf spring is getting that amount of 0 to maximum repeated loads. And one more we are having, that is fourth load we can have, that is after repeating load, that is irregular loads. So here whatever the fluctuations we are having in the stress with the time is highly random. It is highly random. So this is the sigma versus time. So such a kind of loading we can known as the irregular loading. So the best example of this, if you take the example of the wings of aircraft, if you take the example of the wings of aircraft, you can just imagine the stresses which are highly random, say when it is taking off, when it is flying, and when it is landing. In these three different conditions, there are different stresses which are acting on this wing of the aircraft. And last stress or load we can have, that is the fluctuating load. So in fluctuating load, there is change in the stress, okay, or change in the magnitude of stress. Say this is say 150, so this is 100 fluctuation stresses, but in only one direction, isn't it? So if it is positive, then it is only in positive. टेंशन है तो टेंशन में ही क्या होंगे, स्ट्रेसेस जो है वो फ्लक्चुएट होंगे. दैट इज द मैग्नीट्यूड इज चेंजिंग only in one direction. These are known as the fluctuating loads. So in this way we can have the various types of loading. Dear students, now the important fatigue properties, that are the fatigue life, fatigue strength and the fatigue limit. If we talk about the fatigue life, so what is fatigue life? So these are the total number of stress cycles that are required to bring the fracture into the material under given condition. And if I talk about the fatigue limit, so what is this? So this is the stress level, below which the material have the infinite number of the fatigue cycles or the revolutions, I can say, without failure. So these properties we can see by using this SN curve. For the ferrous materials, these are the number of cycles N, or the number of fatigue cycles N, and this S is as the amplitude of stress, isn't it? So generally for the ferrous materials you can have the graph like this, isn't it? So see here, so the stress level corresponding to have how many revolutions? 10 to the power 6 number of revolutions is known as the fatigue limit, or the strength at this limit is also known as the endurance limit or endurance strength, isn't it? So endurance strength is the strength of the material at the N is equal to 10 to the power 6, isn't it? So if you have the stress level beyond this, so definitely you can have the lesser revolution, isn't it? See, less than 10 to the power 6. And if the stress level below this fatigue limit or the endurance strength limit, you can have the infinite number of the fatigue cycles without failure. So this is about the SN curve for the ferrous materials, isn't it? But if you talk about the non-ferrous material, which is not having the certain or sure this endurance limit, you can have this graph like this. For example, you can take the titanium. The graph is like this. Here, this fatigue strength, or see here this S is inversely proportional to what? The N. because it is not having sure endurance limit like for the ferrous materials. So if we talk about, dear students, for the steel here in the ferrous materials, we know that the sigma endurance or S endurance is equal to 0.5 times of sigma yield strength, isn't it? That is the yield strength of the material. You can either represent with the S, this is the amplitude of stress, or sigma. Okay. But in non-ferrous metal, we are not having the exact endurance limit. So anywhere you have this stress, you can get this corresponding N1. So S1, this value for the number of fatigue cycles is N1, like that. So what we can do to minimize this fatigue failure? What we can do? So see, the first thing that we can do is that, so we can have, whenever we can have the sudden change in the cross section, we can go for the fillet. So we can have the preventive method for fatigue failure. One thing that we can have, whenever there is a sudden change in the cross section like this, so at this point, we can have fillet or the radius of curvature like this. We can have the radius of curvature like this, isn't it? So this is the radius of curvature. Second thing is that, this is the one thing to prevent the fatigue failure, we can have the very smooth surface finish on the material. That can also prevent the fatigue failure. And the third thing is that the short pinning. So what is short pinning? So it is the method of introducing the compressive stresses onto the surface of the materials by using the small hard balls. So this is also one of the preventive method for the fatigue failure. If you have seen, if the cricketer playing on the season ball, they are melting this bat with this season ball. That is short pinning. Actually, they are increasing the surface hardness so that it can have a very good fatigue life, isn't it? So these are the preventive methods for the fatigue failure. So dear students, this was the discussion for the fatigue, one of the important material property. Thank you.